Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope everybody's having a great day today. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about whether you need a CS degree anymore to make it in tech. Let me tell you something. Growing up back in 2009 when I graduated high school, then jumping into college right after that, it was required to have a degree for a lot of these companies, especially in tech. Now, with the addition of AI, like Claude Code, ChatGPT, Cursor, and just the amount of information that is here on the internet. You got YouTube, you got all these course websites, you got boot camps. You really don't necessarily need a degree anymore. A lot of it is within the projects that you build. That's the most important thing. You have to have something that gives you credibility. If you don't have that, there's no way you could get a job right now. It doesn't matter how competitive the job market is. If you have these mundane projects on your portfolio, like an easy to-do list, a weather app, a clone of another app with the same functionality, you ain't gonna get a job, bro. I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you. You have to think outside the box and you have to put yourself out there to get these opportunities. And I know it's tough right now. I've seen the job market. I've heard the stories. But whether you want to waste money going to a university or college to get 4 years of education just to not get a job and be in debt, I think that's a stupid idea. I would advise you guys, if you want to be on a hands-on setting and you don't want to learn on your own, look at some boot camps that are out there in your area. Look at some of the ones that are online that are rated well. See if they have any financial aid to help you with doing the courses and doing everything hands-on. Because I'm telling you, I honestly feel working with other people on different projects, not only is it good for networking, but then also it's good for just staying accountable for what you need to do. And you're spending money for that certification to show other employers that you could do the job. And there's a lot of different reasons why a CS degree is not needed anymore. Number one is there's a theory and practice gap when it comes to computer science, okay? Like back then I was learning data structures, I was learning C++ programming, how to build websites, all that stuff. And it was cool after a while, but then I already had the practical experience because I went in high school, I learned computer science. So because I learned all that stuff, it was easier for me to transition into finding a job relatively quickly. And I was working as a web designer, then a web developer while going to school and thinking that I was going to get more knowledge out of that. I really didn't get that much knowledge at all. Half the stuff that I learned in college, I don't even remember. So it was kind of like a waste of time. I think the best thing out of it was that I met new people. I started networking with a lot of people, and there were people that were in computer science that found great jobs and they were doing well. So I could rely on my network to find a job at that time. But it just accumulated a lot of debt. So, you have to think about it. You're spending a lot of money that you don't have using financial aid options. And you're trying to get practical experience, but you're not really getting that because everything is within a textbook and you have to, on your own, do the work. And some of these problems that are in those textbooks doesn't relate to real world problems that are happening today. So there's a huge gap in between what is practical versus what is all BS. So that's something that I noticed quick. I learned more on the job than I did in school. And I'm just trying to save you some bread. So if you don't feel like going to school for all that stuff and you just want to learn on your own through a boot camp or on YouTube, through a course that you could pay for that doesn't hurt your pockets, go for that. All right? That's very important. Another thing is that you practice. You have to practice. If you do not practice, you will not make it as a software engineer, a developer. Doesn't matter what it is, you're not going to make it. So the biggest thing that you could do right now is set up your portfolio to start building projects. Figure out what kind of projects that you want to build. A lot of these projects that I've seen over the course of my career when it came to hiring new developers, and going about just looking at the skill set of some of these candidates that supposedly on paper were really good, a lot of those projects were outdated. So you have to make sure that your portfolio has updated projects, that is following a standard, that you're able to build on something that is effective, that you could over time make better. A lot of people, when they finish a project, they abandon it and they don't go back to it. I think you guys should go back to those projects and figure out new ways of building new features. Show that you know how to build things logically, you know how to architect an application. That's very important. So when you're getting requirements, you could read the requirements and question them, because that's very important to your time as well. If you're not able to figure out what requirements are actually feasible versus the ones that are probably a mistake and don't work in your scenario, you're gonna be wasting a lot of time. And it's just gonna show that you just love to follow directions, all right? So for me personally, when it comes to projects, I always question the requirements. You have to start doing that. So with that being said, you have to make sure that you are practicing every single day, you're building new things every single day, at least iterate over the same projects, learn something new, use AI as your tool in advantage to learn when you're building. That's the biggest thing that has helped with productivity. You have to understand these AI tools that are out here now allow you to figure out exactly what code is being generated, and if there's any issues that you see within the code, that is easily able to pick that up and then give you an explanation as to why this issue happens. So once you understand that, and you're using AI like Claude Code or ChatGPT, you should be golden when it comes to building out your projects, because not only are you building it out, but you're also learning and growing at the same time. Another thing is the industry tools and workflows. Industry tools, for example, CI/CD pipelines, Agile, branching strategy is very important in dev. You have to understand these key concepts. You have to understand what pipelines are. Like, why do you have different branches? What does that mean? All it is just different environments. You have your lower environments, which is usually typically QA and dev, and then you have your critical environments, which is production. All right. You never want to push changes directly to production, because it's going to break things. All right. Also, having lower environments allows you to make changes iteratively, and you don't have to worry about slowing down the production side. So it's checked in the stages. You have your dev environment, which is continuous development. Then you have your QA environment, where the QA team will test everything and provide feedback in terms of bugs that are showstoppers, bugs that are just a nuance, and then they create stories around them. Then you could work on fixing those bugs if you touch that piece of the code in the area of the product. Now, with that being said, understanding just the basics of that, you're already good to go. And you have to do that on your own as well. You guys have to cover that in CS programs. I don't know how it is now, but when I was going to school, they didn't have that. So I didn't understand pipelines until I started working on the job, all right? Another issue is problem solving. A lot of problem solving is what developers do all the time. I don't care what it is, you're always solving problems, whether it's just figuring out technical requirements, or if it's just figuring out how to solve a bug or build out a feature. You're constantly problem solving. It's a lot of logic, there's a lot of brain power. So memorizing a lot of stuff, and what a lot of people will do is just go on a YouTube video and then watch that video to memorize a lot of the questions and answers to certain things, but not having any of the practical hands-on experience. And then you're gonna fail with that, because you understand the terminology, but not necessarily you understand how to implement that terminology. You understand me? So memorization, at least when I was going to school, you had to memorize certain key concepts, and then you had to test whether it was multiple choice or open-ended. You have to memorize what the answers would be. And yes, that will help you with your understanding, but at the end of the day, you need that practical experience. So problem solving is key. The more projects that you build, the more problem solving skills that you will obtain from that. You have to go about doing that. Another thing, your portfolio weighs so much more than a degree. It's facts, bro. Your portfolio of all the projects that you built over time is going to give you credibility in terms of what you can do and what value you can bring to that company. Please don't neglect that. Start contributing to your project. Start building projects. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just start building and iterating your project. Add it to your portfolio. Provide a diagram or just an explanation of what the project is doing. What is the reason why you built that project? What is the architectural tech stack that you added to build this project? What problem is trying to solve? It will get rid of all the other questions that the hiring manager and other people that are going to be on that technical interview that they have. All right. So get used to just building. This is the time to build and use tools like AI to help you build faster and understand exactly what you're building, and start building out or creating a standard for yourself to create something that is meaningful, not only to you, but then also to the people that need the help. Another thing is specialization. I'm a big believer in working on one thing at a time or learning one thing at a time. The reason for this is because if you're multitasking and you're trying to figure out different tech stacks and all that stuff, you're gonna have a lot of abandoned projects. I used to do that all the time. I would look at one particular language, learn that for a little bit, then something else came out, and then I started learning on that one, but then I had 2 half-ass projects that didn't go anywhere. Get used to learning one thing at a time, put 100% of your energy into that one thing, and notice how much more progress you're gonna make because you did that. And if there's multiple languages that complement each other, just learn them. But you're gonna learn the bare minimum of that and just start building cool projects. So it doesn't matter where you want to jump into, just specialize in something. You know, if you don't want to do any UI related or application work, look at data science, look at AI, look at security. Security is very important too. Companies need security. You know, if you're a security specialist, you can look into learning about security and what are some of the pain points that companies are dealing with on a day-to-day basis and how to mitigate a lot of those risks that happen. You know, how do you lock down permissions around your ecosystem, your file system? There's so many different avenues that you could take, but the main point here is specialize in one thing. Do not multitask. The next thing is global competition. Just like the job market, right? A lot of people are trying to jump into tech. A lot of people are being frustrated because they can't find a job and they're getting automatic rejections. I understand. But you have to really invest in your skill set, your knowledge, because that is going to take you so much further as opposed to, you know, going on these YouTube videos, looking at tutorials and following someone tell you what to do. I'd rather you spend the money and go through the financial options of doing a boot camp and learn as much as you can and have those connections within that boot camp to where you never know, you might need them to get a job, you know, and you having that connection will open up the possibility for your application to get pushed to the front. This is very important. This is something I had to learn all over time, and it has helped me tremendously. There are people that I used to work with that I helped get a job too, you know, as a referral, and they've been doing phenomenal. So you have to look at it from that perspective. You know, start connecting with people, start networking, use a boot camp to your advantage so that you don't have to spend a ton of money on a CS degree and then also going through a bunch of tutorials online thinking that you're actually doing something. And then the last thing here I wanted to talk to you guys about, and this is very important, is that lifelong learning is the journey with software engineering or anything in tech. You will always constantly learn something new. Let me just give you some background on me. I started out as a web designer. I was doing mostly HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's all I focused on. Then I transitioned into becoming a web developer that focused on some of the front end, but then also dabbled on the back end and created systems to where you could streamline data throughout the organization and figure out creating reports and then also connecting data together, you know, using database tables and, you know, making sure that whatever data that we're trying to get back, that is showed like either in the portal for our internal team, what the next steps are and what those statuses are. You know, it depends on the project, but you could get really creative with it. So I had to learn from that. And that's when I learned about PHP at the time. And PHP is still good, depending on what kind of websites you're working on or what kind of projects you're working through. I think it's the easiest language I ever picked up in like a week or two. But after that, I kept working on websites, CMS systems like WordPress and Joomla, started building that out, started creating custom plugins for a lot of that stuff, and had to really learn and grind to figure things out. And depending on what the requirements were and what the need was, I had to adapt and grow. And after all that stuff, I became a software engineer where I learned the tech stack was React.js and C#, and had to figure out the C# backend, also MySQL too, or Postgres. I had to figure all that stuff out. I didn't know how to create queries. I didn't know the relationship between different database tables. I didn't have that architectural mindset that I do now. But all that to say, for what I'm doing right now, I'm a senior full stack engineer. I know how to build applications from scratch. I know how to tech plan and figure things out. I know how to architect, how to build features and go about planning projects. This all took time with learning, failing, learning from those mistakes, and reiterating through that whole entire cycle. Because a lot of you guys will get, sad about failing, and it's not that big of a deal, bro. If you fail, you fail. Just learn from those failures, take key lessons that you won't do again, right? And then bring that into your new project. If you do that, you're gonna notice that you're 100% better every single time. So every single day, you're gonna be learning something new. Just like with AI, there's gonna be some new tool that's gonna blow something out of the water. It's gonna be better than ChatGPT. It's gonna be better than Claude, Cursor, and all these other AI tools that are out there now. And you're gonna just evaluate it, get with the times, use it, and that's just part of the game. And you can choose what you wanna use if it fits your needs and your productivity. But other than that, you can't stop. You can't just be in that mindset where, I don't wanna use AI because it's cheating, because it's not. Think about going to Google and searching on forums. That's what I used to do. So it's the same thing. It's just that it compiles all that information at your fingertips just by prompting it. So learn as much as you can. It's going to be a lifelong journey. And if you have that mindset, this is for you. You don't need a CS degree. Do a boot camp. Go on like a course website. If it's something that you want to, pay for that doesn't break the pockets, go through that course. But it's on you to take action. Because if you don't take action, you ain't going nowhere. You ain't finding a job. All right. So that's it, guys. That's the video. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. Let me know if you're a CS major right now, or if you're on the fence about going to school and has this video has helped you in any way. All right. We'll talk soon.